is Carissa, and I am the face behind Sewing Made Special. I wanted to share something I made for a friend. I know a lot of people have custom mouse ears made for Disney, and she asked me if I could do that for her, and I said absolutely, but she wanted some sun protection, and I'm like, okay, how about we put it on a sun hat? So I took two patterns that I really like and I combined them in this video, and I made a sun hat with mouse ears on it. The first pattern for the sun hat is the Rose and Reel pattern designer, and the pattern is just called the Arbor sun hat. That's this one, so you'll see that in this video. And then the other one is by Hempfully Ever After, and that is for the mouse ears. I really like this pattern because the ears are sewn on and not hot glued, and apparently if they're hot glued they can pop off a lot according to one of my friends who makes her own. She travels with a hot glue gun, so this is going to prevent traveling with a hot glue gun to Disney. But yeah, so if you like what you see, if you could leave a like or a comment or subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate that. Thanks. So we're going to do this in two parts, so we're not watching a 40-minute video. Right here you're going to see me taking my lining fabric, and we're going to be cutting out the Arbor sun hat. So with the fabric folded in half, we're going to take the brim and we're going to cut that out, and you want to make sure you place the right part on the fold. And then after that, we're going to make sure that we get 4 of the triangle pieces. So realistically, you only need to cut it twice if you just keep your fabric folded in half, which is what I do here. And then you want to repeat these steps with your main fabric. So this is going to be the fabric that is on the outside of the hat. Next, I'm pulling out my ears pattern, and I'm going to be cutting out the ears for the sun hat. So ideally, this pattern piece would work to make the ears, but my fabric is just a smidge too small for this seam allowance. It's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm taking the piece that's meant for the inner facing and I'm going to be making my own custom seam allowance so that I can make this fabric work for my friend. Traditionally, you will not do this, but if you come across a piece of fabric that you want to use, but it's just not big enough, this is a good alternative. And when I cut, again, I like to do it folded in half so that I only do it twice, but you do need 4 pieces of fabric. You could do 4 completely different fabric if you wanted to. I don't normally do that, but I've seen it done and it can be very cute. But you need 4 pieces in total. This fabric right here is for mom. So you will see me doing it the proper way with the right template, and I'm cutting out the fabric for mom's ears. So right here, I'm using the template for the foam part of the ears. This is a harder foam. It goes inside the ear to help it hold its shape. And it just makes it look really nice. And it really sets it apart from other ears out there. You only need 2 per set of ears. So here you will see me cut out 4. But if you're only making 1 set, you only need 2. And then this right here is fusible interfacing. I like using iron-on interfacing and I don't have to wet it or anything. And basically you just want 4 per ear and you're gonna iron them to your fabric on the wrong side, and that just really helps keep the shape of the ears really nice. So I cut those out really haphazardly. It doesn't really matter because they are on the inside, but I'm just cleaning them up a little bit right here. And then you need to cut out 1 piece for the brim. Again, fold it in half and then cut this out, and then we're gonna trim it down a little bit more once we are ready to iron it on. I pulled out this blue fabric just to match the sun hat, but obviously you can use whatever color you want. Some people do bright, contrasting, crazy headband fabrics, but we're just keeping it simple here. And I'm also going to make the bow match. So here I am cutting out the bow. This part needs to be cut on the fold. So check the pattern, make sure you're cutting it on the fold. And then this smaller piece right here does not get cut on the fold. This piece is just one single layer. And then here I am double checking the pattern for the ties of the hat. I can never remember the measurements to save my life, so I always have to consult the pattern for this part. Normally I can do the pattern by heart, but I cannot remember the tie measurement. I will also say that the ties are completely optional. You do not have to do them. I don't like sewing them. It's just not my favorite thing to do for any pattern, but it is nice for toddlers, so don't skip it if you think they're going to rip their hat off their head. So you want to make sure you're following the instructions of your fusible interfacing, but basically you're going to iron it to the wrong side of the fabric, but when you go to press it, you need it to be right side up, just like this. And you want to go over it and make sure that it actually adhered to your fabric, because sometimes if you don't press hard enough or long enough, it's not going to stick. So I just go over it a few times just to make sure. And then we're going to take our earpieces and we're going to face them right sides together in our pairs. And we're going to take that template for cutting the foam. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to mark it on the edges right there at the bottom. And that's going to be the opening. So I pin right there as well, just to remind myself that's my start and my stop. You do not completely close these when you are sewing. When you're pairing up this fabric, if you have directional fabric, be mindful of where everything is when you're marking it and pinning it, because you don't want to have super cute fabric and then have your opening on the wrong side. Here we're just trimming up that interfacing like I talked about before we iron it on, just to get some bulk out of the seam allowance before we start sewing. So that's it for part 1. We got the easy part out of the way. In part 2, we're going to sew everything together. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Thanks.